All right, you guys, happy Wednesday for some people in New York City. Mamdani won. Okay, that's kind of the big story. The Republican establishment have a lot of excuses regarding that win. The excuses are ranging from because there was too much infighting on the conservative side to this country has been taken over by jihadists. I mean, you name it, they have an excuse. I think the correct answer is because the establishment is just in complete denial, left and right. What is happening is a populist movement. And what is happening is that we are really sick of Zionism. We are really sick of lies. In that same vein, in case you missed it, Brett Cooper is apparently the new Hitler, which I'm just wondering, can we just get these on iPhone alerts, like Amber Alerts, just a general Hitler alert, so we can keep track of the newest person who said something totally sensible and is therefore now being accused of committing a Holocaust? It would just be easier that way for me as an iPhone user. Today, it is in fact Brett Cooper, so there's your update. And in Charlie Kirk news, nothing is making sense still. Least of all, the request and the confirmation window regarding the UVU event. I'm going to show you that. I brought the receipts today, as usual, so welcome back to Candace. I'll tell you guys, there are a lot of stages of grief. The one they don't tell you about is when you get beyond all the stages, you've accepted that this person is not coming back, and then you just want to punch people in the face for lying about everything. I'm there. Everything they are telling us is crazy town, okay? I wake up and I learn something new, and I get angry. I'm so angry, I'm taking it out on the team. I'm like, no, this does not make any sense. I can't explain to you why it doesn't make sense because I went through Turning Point USA, but every little micro change is sending me in this moment. It's a very personal thing. I know how Turning Point operates their events, things that the world does not know. I have been privy to. And that's why I said, you know what, let's actually scour through my emails. I was like, Savannah, let's just go back so that we can share these things with the world, that you guys can join me in my frustration of wanting to punch somebody, anybody in the face, okay? So yesterday, we had mentioned to you that the timeline is absolutely absurd, okay? The absolute absurdity of Turning Point, as we learned, having received a request from Charlie, from UVU, for Charlie to speak on their campus in mid-July. Okay, just a few weeks before he dies. In mid-July, they get a request. Can Charlie speak on campus? And then they immediately approve that request and they schedule it as his first stop some 6 weeks later. That has never happened in the history of my having done campus tours, okay? This was a tour stop. And you literally get these requests months before you start sorting through them. I mean, I'm going to show you the real proof so that you can grasp how atypical the setup is, okay? Charlie and I went on tour in April of 2024 together. We actually also split doing certain locations because they want to do as many locations all over the United States as possible. And April of 2024 is when our campus events began. I'm now going to show you an email of when we started planning that, okay? So keep in mind, the back of your mind, this request for UVU came in July and they approved it for September. For my April 2024 event, here is when we started planning. Here's an email, okay? You will note that this email came in October of 2023. They told me, here are these events. As briefly mentioned, we're in the beginning stages of planning and requesting rooms for schools for next semester. Let me know. These are pending availability and approval. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, which I think we ended up doing, University of Pittsburgh, which I think we did, and the University of Alabama. We are talking about end of March and early April events, okay, in October of 2023. I am telling you guys, when we go back and we look at the calendar and we see that request went out in mid-July, it drives me insane. It just screams at me that this was an inside job, okay? This was always a circumstance. This was not a special thing that happened. They would always say they would get requests in spring that they couldn't make happen, and then they would sort of roll them over and revisit those campuses, trying to hit all of the corridors of the United States the following semester, which would be in the fall. They would go backwards. You don't instantly get approved for an event at Turning Point USA. It reeks of an inside job. That is how I feel. And the more that we learn about the story, the little changes that happen, the inexplicable things that we're learning, it becomes clearer and clearer that somehow at some layer, at some stage, Turning Point USA is involved because they're giving us no clarity. Why? Why did this get approval so quickly? The reason why they have to plan these so far in advance is because Charlie travels like a madman, okay? He's not a person that has nothing on his calendar and can be like, yeah, sure, let's just do this event randomly. The second thing that was driving me crazy as well, which was completely atypical, is the fact that Charlie was slated to speak in Utah on September 10th and then was due to return just 10 days later to a different campus in Utah that's under 2 hours away. That's not how they plan events, okay? The idea is if you're going to fly and you're already going to be in that corridor, try to do those campus events back to back. You'll do a sweep. We did UCLA, we did Berkeley, we did Stanford. You do a sweep overnight, over 2 days. You don't fly to Utah and then go back home to Arizona and then fly to Utah 10 days later. Nothing is making sense, and we need to get to the bottom of why that is. Because it's looking to me, and you can let me know if you agree, it's looking to me like the apparent plan was to assassinate Charlie Kirk, who had at long last faltered on the pro-Israel cause, okay, his words, not mine, and then to stage a hostile takeover of his brand and of his legacy by pretending that his best friends in the world were like Susie Wiles and co. Somehow she made it onto the stage to eulogize him at this very public event. It's so publicized, we can't even doubt. I mean, obviously, look who he's having speak. Your job around the world is to now support this administration and this administration's efforts because we've turned this event into an effective Trump rally. It looks that way to me. Then they were going to tell Americans, as Pastor Rob McCoy did, that it just so happened that Charlie Kirk kept notebooks and diaries. He was so diligent that he wrote down his succession plan featuring who he wanted to take over for the organization in the event of his untimely death. Like, he just, in the third notebook, he was like, oh, and if I accidentally get shot on campus, here's what you should do. Call Erika. And then after you call Erika, come find this notebook. And in this notebook, you'll see that I am using adjectives like fantastic and heroic to describe Mikey McCoy. And if during this process of our imagination, common sense comes on and we're like, but wait, Charlie, wasn't he like a boy genius? He's a pretty bright kid. Wouldn't he have maybe formalized that succession plan outside of like a diary? Maybe call one of his many lawyers? Maybe formalize it in a will? Because that's what you're supposed to do if you are thinking about dying and you need to make a plan. You make a will. I'm sure he had a will. But no, he wanted to put it in these notebooks. And then the plan was to guilt us, I think, to try to haunt us with the ghost of Charlie's notebooks that we're never going to be allowed to read, but we're supposed to accept that they most definitely read, like for sure. That's what it feels like. Do you agree? I think their thought process was it will be much easier for us to control the spirit of Charlie Kirk than the actual living, breathing Charlie Kirk. That's the vibe that I'm starting to get as I keep discovering all of these strange anomalies. And in the spirit of Charlie Kirk, in case you missed it, we're supposed to think that he would want us to be mad at Tucker Carlson and that he would want us to stop speaking about his murder and to instead unite and to get behind and support what feels like a hostile takeover of his company and his brand and to commit ourselves further to the Republican cause, right? To do everything that we can to make sure that, well, Mamdani, as just one example, does not become the mayor of New York. Well, guess what? It looks like we didn't do that. Looks like the plan maybe failed Despite the billionaire bucks that were flowing into the anti-Mamdani campaign, he won pretty handily against Andrew Cuomo, which like 5 minutes ago, the Republican Party was telling us he was unbelievably corrupt and that he should be in prison. And all of a sudden, it was our duty to get the word out, to get people to vote for Cuomo somehow again. Bill Ackman almost personally ran against Mamdani, right? At times, he even demanded to have a debate with Mamdani, which I don't understand the context of why Mamdani would be debating Bill Ackman if he's not running against him. Point is, Mamdani won, okay? Bill gave $1.75 million and Mamdani won, irrespective of the money that was donated against him. Michael Bloomberg also gave money to a Cuomo-affiliated super PAC. He gave $8.3 million to stop Mamdani, and it didn't matter. The Airbnb co-founder, Joseph Gebbia, gave $3.1 million. It didn't matter. The Tisch family gave $1.2 million. It didn't matter. Still, Mamdani won. Why? Okay, if we're being honest, he probably won during the first mayoral debate, okay? Just like if I reflect upon 2016, Trump kind of won in the first Republican debate because he was just kind of saying F you to the establishment, and it was pretty apparent. I want you to take a listen to this question. It's shocking, actually, if you've never seen this. This is a question that was asked to the New York City mayoral candidates about which foreign country they would visit first if they won. So to be clear, the question on its face makes entirely no sense, but this is how it was answered. Take a listen.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, two of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't
Not
say it has a
state.
right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer questions very directly.
All right.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah.
Just like, this is our country, you guys. That's it. You know what? I'm going to take my 19th trip to Israel. Oh, well, I'm going to take my first trip after my son's bar mitzvah. Oh, I was planning on stopping over on the way for our honeymoon. We were going to stop and just go to Israel and do whatever we could. It's ridiculous and it's obvious. And the way that the establishment comes down, if you don't peddle those talking points, he says something totally normal. Yeah, I'm going to stay here in New York. Why do I have to make a trip to Israel? And he says, I'd rather work with the Jewish New Yorkers that are here. That makes sense. Why are they all coming down on him? Why have all of our politicians, left and right, sold us out? Okay? Republican Party. I'll never forget during the presidential debates, they were all wearing, the majority of them, I think there was only Vivek Ramaswamy was not wearing the Israeli pin. I'm like, you're running for president of the United States. What are you doing wearing the Israeli flag as a pin on your jacket? No one can answer these questions. And they do the same thing. I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. Keep in mind, by the way, Mamdani won, and New York has the largest population of Jewish people of any city in the world next to Israel. So that says something, okay? And he still won. Now, did he get the majority of the Jewish vote in New York? No, but the exit polls are quite stunning. He got way too much of the Jewish vote in New York, I would say. And I'm going to bring in Mark in my ear to mansplain what we're seeing here on the exit polls. Mark, can you please mansplain?
Yeah, as you can see, it looks like he, despite not winning the Jewish vote, he got a huge proportion of it 32% is pretty insane for allegedly how anti-Israel he is. And even deeper in here, you can see that Israel was a factor in a lot of these people's votes. This is according to a CNN exit poll of about 4,700 people coming out. And really, it's an election for mayor of New York. I don't see what this has anything to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, this is just something. And I think it also speaks to when Norm Finkelstein was on our show and he was explaining that even amongst the Jewish community, like the Israel question is now here and it's not going to go around. It's not going to go away. This is sticking around. But I guess the bigger, broader question is why didn't MAGA? Why didn't MAGA? Why didn't MAGA do the thing? We've infiltrated MAGA and we told them to do what we want and we wanted them to all make posts, anti-Mamdani posts. Just to be clear, even Donald Trump, President Trump, dedicated 900% more Truth Social posts to ensuring that Mamdani would lose than to ensuring that Charlie Kirk's murderer was found. 900% increase in messaging coming from him, since he didn't even send one message about investigating Charlie's murder. But the question is, why didn't MAGA listen even to Trump? Why didn't we all get on our platforms and say something? Because people like Dana Lash want to know, how are we going to win if you guys don't use your platforms and encourage people to vote? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. We don't recognize this MAGA because the fact that you're in it makes no sense. You were never Trump. If you're telling us that MAGA is now Josh Hammer, then MAGA is not MAGA, okay? MAGA needs a new leader. And it's pretty obvious that you guys recognize that we have never been with you. We've actually never been on the same team. And if you think you're going to infiltrate and convince us that this is the same party while we get gaslit about everything that's happening, like I said, you lost the party. MAGA got fractured, not when Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes, but when Donald Trump looked at us in our faces and said, Epstein who? That's when it was game over. Because Israel First is a cancer cell. It is a cancer cell, left or right, to everything and everyone that wants to play around with it. It is a radical psychosis that has manifested itself within both parties. And it is so radical that, in case you missed it, yesterday, they started attacking Brett Cooper. Brett Cooper, 23-year-old, bubbly Brett Cooper. She makes the majority of her videos dedicated to pop culture. Yes, she covers things that are, I would say, mainstream politics, nothing too daring, never speaks about Israel. And she did her part, by the way. Zionists wanted her to do her part and encouraged New Yorkers to get out and vote against Mamdani. But it's not enough, of course, because this is a radical ideology. You give them 100%. You even say one critique, and they don't want to break bread with you. They want to destroy you. And that's what they want to do to Brett Cooper, because she watched the totally deranged Tucker is not MAGA Republican Jewish coalition event, and she agreed with the majority of sensible people that demands to censor speech, to deplatform is not only childish, it's also ineffective. It's also antithetical to what it means to be a conservative. So I'm going to let you listen to what Brett Cooper said about Randy Fine, and let me know if you're just so offended that you think that she needs to be canceled and destroyed. Take a listen to what Brett Cooper said.
Like Randy Fine, if you don't know who he is, he's a representative from Florida. He's the same guy who bragged about not washing his hands after he had a handshake with Netanyahu. He's repeatedly introduced bills to criminalize anti-Semitism, infringing upon free speech. I mean, he obviously, I'm sorry to say, but he obviously cares more about Israel than he does, principles like free speech. So, buddy, like, my advice to you, Randy Fine, is just move to Israel at this point. Like, considering you had to go through anger management classes a few years ago, I genuinely think you would probably be happier if you just moved to Israel. And that's not a dig at him. That's just a fact. It's a nudge of encouragement. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be healthy. I think you would be happier if you just moved to Israel. You could be over there singing songs with Mike Huckabee.
Seems like pretty sound advice. Rather than trying to make this country Israel, why don't you just go live in Israel? And here's what she had to say regarding Ted Cruz. Take a listen.
You are so blinded by your ridiculous, insane hatred of Tucker Carlson that you cannot see how irresponsible and hypocritical you are being. I mean, these tweets from Ted Cruz, I'm going to read you next, are a great example of this. So just a month ago, he tweeted this. He said, "They don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon. Enough is enough. We need to shut it down." And then in response to Fuentes and Tucker this week, he tweeted this. Trump's bombing of the Ayatollah's nuclear facilities made the little Nazi mad. Good. So now you're turning around and you're calling somebody that you don't like a Nazi. You're doing this out of blind rage because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and so you have turned around and in response, you are compromising your own values in anger, which is such a dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing, so again, it makes sense why this group is incredibly frantic.
She's a voice of Gen Z, so you would think that the good thing to do here would be to listen, to break bread, for someone to reach out and invite her onto a show so they can talk about it, so they can hear their voices. You might recall Charlie Kirk did this. He sat down with Gen Z and said, I'm trying to tell them that they are pushing an entire generation away with their actions. But we know how they responded to Charlie Kirk doing that. They started calling him an anti-Semite. They started squeezing him up into the last moments of his life. They were making financial threats to him. And not just financial threats, they made good on those threats. People like Bob Shillman took $2 million away from him because he let Tucker Carlson hit the stage. They've learned nothing. They've learned nothing. And so rather than trying to reach across and say to Gen Z or to say to Brett Cooper, hey, I'd love to have you on our show, or hey, I'd love for you to meet this person, they're already calling her the white Candace Owens. If you're Aaron Wexler, here's an actual tweet. Okay, white Candace, what is a Nazi then? Like, what? How does that make any sense? Why are you calling Brett Cooper the white Candace? Like, why are you even thinking about the fact that Brett Cooper is white? Why do we keep seeing this recurring theme of Jewish supremacists constantly having to comment on white people? Like, why does she have to be the white Candace? That's ridiculous. Nothing, we don't even have the same ideas. It's completely, she's saying something sensible. But it gets worse. Ted Cruz, who's a pretty sensible guy, comes out and tries to big time her. I don't know how he thought that would land. She's 23 years old. It looks very loserish to try to big time a 23-year-old with, who are you? Here's what he had to say. I don't know who this angry lady is, but she's missing a key distinction. Fuentes calls himself a Nazi. He has said that Hitler is very cool and Hitler was right and he is on Team Hitler. If you explicitly side with and advocate for Hitler, you are an actual effing Nazi. Like, first off, class it up. We don't need you dropping F-bombs to a 23-year-old. Secondly, trying to big time her and act like you don't know who she is when you have done various things with the Daily Wire, including you were featured in a movie that Brett Cooper starred in at the Daily Wire, Lady Ballers. You're good friends with Michael Knowles. You know fully well who Brett Cooper is. And like, that was a super classless tweet coming from you. Like, what does she have to do? Like, run for president and not win to be recognized on a global scale? Again, doing nothing to bring people over to their cause. And because it's not just about trying to big time people, but you will find that there is this current of just sheer evil that Zionism goes hand in hand with, trying to deconstruct who an individual is very quickly. They began pouring through all of Brett's old content, looking for ways to go after her character. And they came across a clip of her speaking to Sean Ryan last year. Now, before I give you the context of this clip, I want you to listen to it because it will really help you process just how spiritually evil and possessed these people are, okay? This is the tweet that went up, a couple of tweets that went up saying essentially she's a witch. I'm not kidding. This is a real tweet. What a surprise. Brett Cooper and her mom engage in witchcraft. She's not a conservative. I don't care how hard people want to gaslight me about it. Here's another tweet. Brett Cooper, the most recent hero of the woke right, is a secular, nominally religious spiritualist. Her views are inherently unchristian, but that doesn't matter to the woke right as long as she agrees with or permits their hatred of Jews. She's good to go in their book. This is not a Christian movement. Here is the clip they are referring to.
We did all sorts of things. My mom visited mediums. Right after, I mean, I haven't done that, and I kind of want to, but she did. She went to multiple mediums, like one in New York, where you don't tell them or even his assistant like who you are or anything about you, and you go to this hotel room, and you would just like sit there. I was like talking about it is so weird, and both her first husband and David popped up.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And we're like, there's a 17-year-old young man here who wants to speak to you. I mean, it was like, I was actually just thinking about this meeting the other day. I was Googling, trying to see if I could find him. I need to ask my mom the name because I would love to go just do this. But yeah, she was able to speak to Don, her first husband, to hear from him. She had a miscarriage between the boys, I think, and I'm pretty sure that at one of the medium things that baby came in, said something.
You know the lights just dimmed behind you twice.
I saw that.
Okay, so now let me properly contextualize the conversation that they're having. It's actually one of the most compelling and moving conversations I've ever seen Brett Cooper have. It's a very powerful episode of the Sean Ryan Show because she tells her backstory and you realize how much substance she has and the things that she lived through. She lived through a lot. This is somebody who had twin brothers, and one of her twin brothers dropped dead from a heart attack unexpectedly. And when she describes the dynamics of what they went through as a family, meaning things you don't think about, having an identical twin brother, and then one half of you're literally a split cell, dies suddenly, what that does to the other twin brother who has to walk by the mirror every day and see his brother, but his brother's actually dead. So her brother that survived, went crazy. And she takes care of him. He is in a mental hospital. And she's talking about the grieving process that they went through, what her mother went through. Her mother went and visited mediums. Like, may you never know the pain of losing a child. Like, it is something that I can't even fathom, the pain of losing a child and how it rips through her family. And she effectively lost a second brother because of having lost the first brother, and trying to come to terms with the fact that her family's never going to be the same again, how it led to divorce, all of these things. And they're just going, she's a witch. Her mother went to go visit a medium. That's it. Case closed. I mean, what is wrong with these people? I am telling you, there is no way that we can break bread. The Israel First movement, like I said, is a true cancer. It just wants to destroy. There is so much hate. But I also want to be clear that they are growing increasingly dangerous because they are radical at their hearts, because these are the descendants of Bolsheviks. This is not something just to laugh at. It's something to pay attention to, okay? Because if they're going after Brett Cooper in this demonic of a way, someone who's just a bubbly girl who speaks mostly about pop culture, and now they're trying to dig up content and say that she's a witch, like we're supposed to drown her, burn Brett Cooper at the stake, then where does that put the rest of us? And their rhetoric is getting dangerous. They're saying another 9/11 is coming. I'm going to tell you guys about that in a little bit. Don't go away. All right, you guys, I've been speaking a lot about Riverbend Ranch because I absolutely love their steaks. They have Black Angus beef that is famous for its great flavor. Riverbend Ranch has taken Black Angus beef to a whole new level because over the last 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been creating an elite Angus herd by using ultrasound technology to select genetically superior cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness. Each year, Riverbend Ranch provides about 850 elite Black Angus bulls containing these special genetics to over 260 Western U.S. ranches. Those partnership ranches receive a substantial premium from Riverbend Ranch for raising those calves without the use of growth hormones and without antibiotics. And then every fall, the calves containing those elite genetics return to the Riverbend Ranch to spend the following summer in the lush mountain pastures. So when you purchase from Riverbend Ranch, you're not only supporting the 64 cowboys and their families who work on the ranch, but you're also supporting over 260 other U.S. ranches and the hundreds of American families who work on those ranches as well. It's born in the USA, raised in the USA, processed right here in the USA. The meat is aged to perfection for 21 days, and then it's shipped directly from their ranch to your home. So this is not your average Black Angus beef. This is more flavorful and more tender than even the best Angus beef that I've ever tasted. Right now, when you head over to riverbendranch.com and use promo code Candace at checkout, you'll get $20 off your first order. Trust me, you are going to be so impressed. So visit riverbendranch.com and use promo code Candace at checkout. Also want to tell you guys about SaunaSpace, because when you're a mom with kids and a nonstop schedule, you're still expected to look good, feel good, and function without losing your mind. That's why I'm obsessed with SaunaSpace. You've seen those red light panels that are trendy, but this is totally different. It's the glow infrared therapy light from SaunaSpace. It helps with screen fatigue, and it's amazing for my skin as well. In the morning, it's like a natural sunlight. It's warm, it's comforting, and it resets your body clock. And at night, it helps you relax and get ready for a seriously deep sleep. You can even use it as pain relief on sore muscles or cramps. And the real game changer is their Fire Light Sauna. It's portable and it's powerful, and you're getting red light therapy and an infrared sauna all in one. It's your personal wellness sanctuary. Plus, it's all handmade here in the USA with pure organic materials and zero EMFs for the ultimate detox. SaunaSpace spent over a decade perfecting their Firelight spectrum, and thousands of studies support the benefits. In the Firelight sauna, you sweat hard. It's a deep detox. It's faster healing, better sleep, glowing skin, serious relaxation. It even boosts your immune system. So if you are a busy mom like me who's ready to take 20 minutes a day back to herself, check out SaunaSpace. Head to saunaspace.com/Candace and use code Candace for a special 10% discount. That's saunaspace.com/Candace with code Candace for a discount. All right, so the establishment has never hated me more, particularly because I'm looking into this Charlie Kirk case. I'm not going to stop doing that. A couple of questions that I want to put out in the public, by the way, regarding that. But there was this riveting segment that apparently happened in July on CNN that I saw for the first time this morning as it was going around on X. And it's really amazing. And it really is just, I guess, how people feel about me in the establishment media in a nutshell. So let's take a listen to CNN.
Not only is she stupid, but she's also disgusting, right? I mean, Candace Owens has got to be one of the most disgusting folks who ever gets airplay on any major network in this country.
And this is actually not even the worst of Candace Owens.
She's an anti-Semite.
But that says quite a lot.
Yeah, she's an anti-Semite. She's anti-gay. She's an anti-Semite. She has said stuff about the history of slavery in this country that's disgusting. Yes, it's funny insofar, that her statements make no sense. But when we really get to the core of the issue, she's just a disgusting human being, and that's the bottom line.
I'm sorry, but that's just objectively funny. It's funny because they're being serious, and it's funny. When we get to the core of the issue, yeah, she's an anti-Semite. Yeah, she hates women. She hates black people. She hates it. When we get to the core, she's just a disgusting person. All right, cool. Let's keep plodding along. A couple of updates on the Charlie Kirk story and something that is really bothering me in the back of my mind. Actually, a lot of things are bothering me, but here are two more things that are bothering me. Charlie was never rendered any first aid immediately. I know the security team. I know that one of them is supposed to administer first aid immediately. We don't see that happening. I've seen everything from different angles. When he's down on the ground, they don't put any gauze on him. They don't even put a hand where the wound is to try to stop the bleeding. In fact, when they pick him up, he is flopping all the way to the car. His neck is not even being held in a manner like they're trying to stop the wound from opening up. And something that really struck me as what is going on is the fact that he was never even put on the ground after he fell from the chair, okay? I'm going to explain this to you. Now, I have the back footage, I have the side footage, and what you can see is that the first thing that happens is the security guard actually grabs Charlie. So Charlie doesn't actually fall from the chair. The security guard lifts him and guides him onto the ground, which is what you're supposed to do. Obviously, get low. Unless you're Mikey McCoy, when shots go off, you're supposed to get low. And so he puts him behind the table, but he guides him on top of a suitcase, an equipment suitcase, so to speak. I'm going to show you guys that because no one has actually caught on to this. And at no point do they take him off of this, okay? So whatever, 30 seconds pass, and it just strikes me as really odd that you wouldn't put him flat and straight, and then they're all kind of huddled over him on top of a suitcase, like an equipment box, so to speak. So here is this. I'm going to show you that. Look, has anybody caught this? Charlie was never actually put onto the ground, and his head, which we're obviously blurring out here, his head is flopped over. He is not level this entire time as they are laying over him. They never put him on the ground. I find it very strange that those equipment boxes are even there. They're on either side of him, which is very strange. As far back as we could look, we couldn't see this sort of a setup. Everything is weird this day. And on the inside, they have these boxes. So I'm actually putting this out here because A, it's weird, but B, I am wondering, and maybe somebody can look this up, so no, everybody is looking at different angles of footage. If they moved that box that Charlie was on, if that box was moved before camera boy comes and removes the cameras, or was that equipment box still there? Because that's only about 4 minutes that passes, and I don't recall seeing that equipment box in the aftermath. And it's just weird they kept him on it. That's just not even in common sense scenarios. If I was there and I was not being paid millions and millions of dollars to secure the venue like these individuals were annually, I would know that you have to get a body flat to administer any sort of aid, to assess things. I actually don't know what they're doing for about 20 seconds, for about 30 seconds down there. I don't know what they're doing. They seem to be huddled up. Doing what? Doing what exactly are you doing? If you are not securing the wound, if you're not even trying to get his head level, what are you doing? That's a long time to be down there, according to me and common sense. Just common sense. You got to do something. They don't even open their bag to try to administer any aid. And they're paid millions of dollars per year to do that. Anyways, the second thing, if you have that footage, if you can see if that box is moved, I would like to know if that box is still there in 4 minutes later when they start taking down the equipment. Second thing that is bothering me is, 1 millionth thing that is bothering me is Mikey McCoy's instant phone call. We've already discussed it. It's strange, okay? They're definitely lying about the fact that he's covering his ears because I just saw more footage and he never stops this move for a single second, even when he gets way beyond and starts going left towards a parking lot and he's finally out of view. He never once puts this down. So I still holding and maybe thinking what? It doesn't make any sense, okay? Anyways, I have been sort of not wanting us to engage in setting aside our common sense, obviously. The excuses that we have been given, none of it makes, the excuses make even less sense, actually. And the excuse that we were given about what Mikey was doing is like running in the back of my head. Blake Neff, who was there, he's also carrying on Charlie Kirk's show, and he was pretty fired up about people asking questions about what Mikey was doing. And I just want you to listen to what Blake Neff says that Mikey was up to in those seconds. Now, like I said, we can track Mikey, okay? Here is what he says, just to listen to what I actually find to be quite odd about this. Take a listen.
The shooting occurs. I am next to Mikey. Both of us hear a loud crack. We both turn. We both see Charlie, who has been shot. Both of us, I think at about the same time, realize that that means there is a shooter who is on the scene. And, you just hear the crack, so you don't know, did it come from far away? Did it come from close? Is there a mass shooter unfolding right now? So I and him both had the reaction of, let's get out of here before we're both shot. That is not us abandoning Charlie. Charlie had a security team. They all leapt immediately into action, and they got Charlie out of there, which was what their job was to do. My job was not to get in the way and screw this up because, I had to be a hero. That was not my job. I remember even running past, both of us going past the SUV that we came in on, and me thinking, should I get in that car? And then thinking, no, that's a really stupid thing to do. And then I kept going. So I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left.
Yeah.
And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly guy. He's a very happy guy almost all of the time. And I'll never forget what I saw, because it was clear in the moment that he was profoundly freaked out. What I'll always remember is the way his lip was quivering, which I'd never seen before. And you very rarely see from someone that he was freaking out. And then I think he literally said to me, I might be imagining this, but I think what he literally said was, he was looking around, and then he says, I need to call Erika. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erika. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erika. Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. Pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy, and he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him. And I guess it's very disgusting for me as someone who witnessed this, who saw Mikey hugely distressed and then step up in the moment, because after that call was over, I saw Mikey get total mastery of himself, that he realized he had to step up in this situation. And from that point, he was like a general directing a battle, where he was, grabbing people and saying, okay, we need to get to the hospital and we need to do these things. And you guys need to wait here. I need to get in here to get information so that I can get it to Erika. And when we learned he was dead, he came out and he told us, and then he says, now none of you can say anything that you've heard because Erika is not going to hear about this from anyone except me.
Okay, so here is what is wrong with that. First and foremost, because we have further footage of Mikey walking, there is no way he was covering his ears. Okay, he doesn't dial, and he keeps it like this all the way past Charlie's car. Think Charlie's coming in. Mikey goes straight past the car, and then he goes all the way to the left, and he never brings his hand down. Okay. He's not covering his ears for that long. It doesn't make any sense. Blake might think he's telling the truth, but it's not a true account of what happened on that day. Okay. I'll say that again. Blake might think he's telling the truth. So it is possible that Blake is not lying. Okay. But it is not a true account of what happened on that day. Clearly, it looks to me like he knows where he's going. It is up right by the parking lot, that in the general direction of the parking lot that he seems to be going, straight and then to the left. And he is on the phone already. And Blake Neff is nowhere to be seen. We can track those movements. We are told that within the minute of Charlie getting shot, he called both Erika and he called both Robbie McCoy. And that's one of those little things that's really messing with me. Because the implication here is that the call with Erika had to be fast. Okay, the implication here is that the call with Erika had to be fast. I want you to imagine you get a phone call, okay, from whoever saying that the person that you love most in this world and the person that you are married to has been shot. How fast are you getting off that phone? You're staying on the phone. You're asking questions. There's a series of questions that need to be answered. You scream. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Where is he? Where do I go? Blah, 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 blah. Is he okay? I mean, there are a litany of questions that would be asked. And please don't tell me that this is some situation where that wouldn't be the circumstance. I am so tired of you wouldn't know what you would do. I do know that you're asking a series of questions, which means naturally, if what he is saying is true, and until they reunited, which does not happen in our eyesight, we do not see Blake and Mikey reunite when we track Mikey all the way straight down to the left, okay? The 12:23 minute has got to be over by the time he sees his lip quiver, by the time he says, I have to call Erika, and then he's going to call Erika, and I'm supposed to believe, what, this was a 15-second phone call? Hey, Charlie's been shot. Got to call you later. Like, because I got to call my dad and ask him to pray. By the way, that one, too, doesn't make sense. You could call your dad after you call 911. I mean, there's so many things that would happen before I called my dad and asked him to pray if you're really going to snap into it. And I know for a fact also that one of his first phone calls, it wasn't just 2 phone calls he made 3, because he also called Elizabeth McCoy, his wife, who screamed at the office, okay? And so we're not being told the truth. That's what I'm getting at. We are not being told the sensible truth. Was his phone call to Erika only 10 seconds? Like you just drop that news and keep it moving? Or was he already on the phone with Rob McCoy? What happened? Okay, I need clarification because every day that goes on, it feels to me like Turning Point is engaged in a cover-up. And there's no other way to say this. There is no other way. I don't care who at Turning Point tweets. I literally do not care. I will breathe fire on all of you. I know how these events work. Why was this event confirmed so quickly when it was requested so late? Answer these questions. I need answers to these questions to understand what happened on that day. Because the way that Mikey moves is like he knows where he's going. It's like they know where they're going to meet. And we know that they got to the hospital very quickly because Blake Neff says elsewhere, they got into the hospital within 25 minutes, okay? That means they knew instantly where the hospital was. They knew which direction to go to, the communication that's flowing. I think Frank said he was on the phone while they were in the car with his family members. Don't quote me on that. So all of this happened. You instantly got to the hospital, which, by the way, the hospital was put on lockdown when Charlie came in, is what we were told. They let Mikey and the Turning Point boys in. Maybe that's true. It sounds like it is true. Obviously, we know that you were there when they came out and said that Charlie had died, according to Blake Neff and according to Frank Turek's testimony. But a lot of this little stuff is not making sense, okay? It's not making sense. And you cannot tell me that to dispel this rumor, right, by letting people see the call logs, by letting people see the video footage would somehow hurt the case. Because that's the BS they're selling us right now. Like transparency would hurt the case. And like I've said, if transparency would hurt the case, then it's because you don't have a case, okay? If transparency would hurt the case, it's because you don't have a case. And if you're telling me that your phone logs on that day would somehow hurt the case, you are asking me to be an idiot. And I can't be an idiot. I can't pretend that I was born yesterday. You're lying. They're lying about the phone calls. They're lying about the timing of the phone calls. The phone calls don't make sense. Just want to say that. I'm going to chill. I'm getting a little fired up. I said I wasn't going to do that, but I'm getting fired up again. Okay. Now, I am hopeful that we're going to get some more clarity in the future. And something else that I want to say, building on yesterday, the feeling I'm getting that they were positioning Mikey to be the new Charlie. Well, here's another little fun fact. Obviously, after Charlie died, there were no new scheduled posts on his YouTube page, meaning like, on your YouTube page, there's the live section. That's where you guys are right now. They had the live videos of people at the memorial event. But in terms of like scheduled posts to go out, they didn't bring back his YouTube channel and start scheduling those posts until after the memorial event, which makes sense. It would have been all hands on deck for the memorial event. And when they came back and began scheduling posts on Charlie's channel, the first post they scheduled was Mikey McCoy's speech. It was a picture. I'm going to show you this. Look, so it goes in order from bottom to top. So you see you've got Charlie and Ben, you've got Charlie and Jack Posobiec, you've got Charlie, and then it stops. And then when they bring the channel back, even before they put Erika's speech, they put Mikey McCoy and his wife. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. This stinks to high heaven, okay? Of all the speeches you could have picked to put first, right? You could have picked J.D. Vance. You could have picked Trump. You could have put Erika. Erika's was second. You put Mikey McCoy and his wife. What's going on? Anyways, I am hopeful that some more points will be clarified tonight when the very anticipated interview drops between Jesse Waters and Erika Kirk. I will be watching. I am actually ecstatic to hear more from Erika. I know she's obviously been given that time to grieve, and I'm hopeful that she's going to provide just a bit more sense to this entire situation. I need more sense applied to the situation. Lastly, and switching gears here, what I want to say to you, and this is building upon what I said earlier, is pay very close attention because all of the wrong people, and by this I mean the pro-Israel crowd, are signaling hard to us that another 9/11 is coming. They're jacking up the jihad rhetoric. Everyone's a jihadist. Muslims are coming. The Muslims are here. Mamdani, there's a jihadist threat. Something big is coming. And the Pentagon, okay, like where the Department of Defense is housed, the Pentagon, which was implicated in 9/11, a lot of questions about what the Pentagon was up to, money, a lot of questions about the Pentagon, okay? They have just given press passes. They've just put Laura Loomer in their press corps. I'm not kidding. Check this out. Check out this headline. Conservative activist Laura Loomer, a Trump ally, says she has a new Pentagon press pass. Now, this is of interest. This should be of interest to everybody because you don't have to be a Laura Loomer hater or a Laura Loomer lover to know that Laura Loomer quite literally has psychiatric issues, okay? She has been on multiple Psych 5150 holds. She is the person who, in case you didn't know this, chained herself to Twitter when she got banned from Twitter. And she wore a Star of David. Now, crazier than the fact that she chained herself to Twitter headquarters and was wearing a Star of David and trying to correlate being banned from Twitter as being in a Holocaust is the fact that Laura Loomer is factually not Jewish. Okay, so she's living in a delusion that she's even Jewish. That was politically expedient for her to say that she was Jewish. She can't produce any bat mitzvah pictures because it never happened. No bat mitzvah, it just never happened. She became Jewish in essence, I suppose, for political reasons, and has gone so far in this identity crisis that she chained herself to Twitter headquarters and made it like a Jewish thing when they kicked her off of Twitter back in 2018. Now, I don't even agree with the fact that they kicked her off. I don't agree with them kicking anybody off. But you should know that our Department of Defense, for whatever reason, is signaling that she's an okay person to be in the building. That just seems like maybe a flight risk. Like if you're just interested in basic safety and defense, you wouldn't allow that person in a building like the Pentagon specifically. And they're doing that. Why? Because she has proven over and over again that she has no soul and she will lie over and over again on people, on places, and on things that she sees with her own eyes as long as she defends the state of Israel which has absolutely nothing to do with her and her ethnicity, which is insane, okay? On top of that, we have Josh Hammer, who just looks evil, just looks like a Bond villain, who is similarly signaling, along with many others, that there's going to be another 9/11. And again, the pro-Israel crowd would know a little something about that. Take a listen to what Josh Hammer said.
New York City, for the time being, it looks like you are pretty screwed. For the time being, it looks like you are literally going to have a Karl Marx quoting, Hamas-loving, red-green alliance sicko. Yes, he is an absolute sicko. You're going to have this guy as the next mayor. A quarter century, just under a quarter century, actually, after 9/11, after the largest Islamic mass terrorist attack in global history, certainly in American history, but find me another single casualty event that killed that many people as were tragically killed on September 11th, 2001, a day that as a native suburban New Yorker myself, I remember all too well. Less than a quarter century later, they are going to have a Muslim mayor, and not merely a Muslim mayor, but a Muslim mayor who has refused repeatedly to utterly condemn things such as globalize the Intifada, who injected his unique far-left, noxious brand of Middle East politics, somehow injected that into a municipal election there for various identitarian identity politics reasons there.
Who are you more afraid of as an American, Muslims or Zionists? I'm going to go ahead and say Zionists for me personally, because like whenever they get on this thing where they start talking about like there's going to be a war, whenever they start itching for a war, like they want a regime change in Iran, they find a reason that something happens and suddenly our boys are being sent. So what I will say is your best guard against this is just to refuse to fight in the war that I think they're foreshadowing. Just refuse, honestly, on a principle, refuse. Because our administration has been infiltrated and there are extremely evil people that are at the helm of the United States military and that are not caring at all about American lives, in my viewpoint, not taking a stance whatsoever for the freedoms that people in the past have fought for. Like this administration is not even fighting for free speech on college campuses anymore. And it's a turnaround. It is a 180 from the Trump that came down the escalator. I will not support it. You're not going to convince me that this is the MAGA movement. It's not. And the reason I know it's not is because all the Never Trumpers are praising it. And I've always been against Never Trumpers. So if Trump joined the Never Trump party, then good on him, but I'm not following him there. That's what I'm going to say on that topic. Before we answer some of your comments, we'll throw it to a few sponsors. All right, you guys, the Fed just dropped interest rates again, and that is great news for American homeowners. If you are feeling overwhelmed thinking about the upcoming holidays, there is no better time than right now to get your finances in order. It's hard to think about the holidays when everything is so expensive and your credit cards are already pushed to the max. With rates dropping, now is the time to pay off that debt. American Financing is helping homeowners access the equity in their home for instant savings. They're saving people just like you an average of $800 a month. And many are seeing rates in the low fives, which is a game changer compared to those sky-high credit cards. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you extra breathing room for the holidays. It costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you could be saving. The holidays are going to be here before you know it, so don't wait. Call their salary-based mortgage consultants today. Call American Financing at 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens, AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Also going to tell you guys about 7 Weeks Coffee, because if you've been listening to this show, you know that 7 Weeks Coffee isn't just a sponsor for us. It's actually a part of our daily routine. We drink it every morning, and honestly, I cannot imagine starting the day without it. And it's not just about the taste. It's because the coffee stands for something that we deeply believe in. 7 Weeks Coffee is America's pro-life coffee company on a mission to fund the pro-life movement 1 cup of coffee at a time. They're called 7 Weeks Coffee because at 7 weeks, a baby is the size of a coffee bean. That's the same time a heartbeat is clearly detected at an ultrasound. They've built their business around saving lives by donating 10% of every sale to pregnancy centers and pro-life organizations nationwide. They've now raised over $1 million and saved thousands of lives. And let me tell you about the coffee. It's fantastic, mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low-acid, and it's organically farmed, so it checks all the boxes. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. Plus, you'll get a free gift with your order. And exclusively for my listeners, if you use code Candace at checkout, you'll get an extra 10% off that first order. So that's a total of 25% savings on your first order plus a free gift. Just use code Candace at 7weekscoffee.com. Oh, right. I told you we're going to start pulling the top comment from every episode. So this is the top comment from yesterday's episode. Margaret writes, Pastor McCoy makes me feel very uncomfortable. Something very evil emanates from this man. He does not have a good face. I agree with you. Like I said, Charlie always said the eyes are the window to the soul. I look at him and I know that everything is wrong. I just know that everything is wrong. Stephen Forker writes, Candace, I've been a supporter of Trump since 2016, but after Charlie's death and the complete lack of transparency, is this still the same Trump that Charlie, you and millions of others voted for and believed in? Absolutely not. And like I said, it was before Charlie's death. Then the mask down moment for me that we had been completely occupied was when he said, why are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? A story was released later that he was protecting some of his donors. And that's the problem. You know, that's his vice. Trump loves money, and it looks like he has sold his soul for money. That's the reality. And they're not going to convince me that I have to support an administration that wants to gaslight me about a person who harmed children. Okay. Not going to happen. John Diamond writes, Dear Candace, if we are in the Matrix and you are Morpheus, all you offer is the truth. On a personal note, thank you for helping the scales fall from my eyes regarding Israel. As always, love to you, George, and your kids. Christ is king. Indeed, he is. And look, we all wake up at some point. I'm grateful if people have learned from my show. I hope that people will challenge themselves to read the books, because you can't just realize what's happening today. You have to also recognize what Israel, how it came together. You have to start with Sigmund Freud, the early Zionist movement, Theodore Herzl, his connection to him, why they were connected. We talk about this on my book club. Even if you can't join the book club, you can still buy those books. And so I would start with The Assault on Truth by Jeffrey Masson, and then move on to this most critical book, which is Sigmund Freud and the Jewish mystical tradition. I think the combination of those two books are absolutely potent to the Zionist narrative. I truly do. And you'll also start to recognize the psych tactics that they use on us, the gaslighting. That is why they celebrate Sigmund Freud, is because he mainstreamed gaslighting people that they harmed. That's just a fact, an inescapable fact, as Jeffrey Masson, who was in control of the Sigmund Freud archives, points out. And Andrea writes, please help us locate the video of Charlie Kirk's entire answer to the first question that he was asked about Jesus Christ at Utah Valley. I had no luck finding the entire 8 to 10 minute clip. Only 20 to 60 second videos come up. It shouldn't be this hard to find. My producer made a note that it has made the rounds and that we have it. I think the best way to find that stuff is always on X. I really do think that there's a lot of people that share those things. So yeah, we will, I don't know how we would get that to you. Nicola writes, I love how so many people in the chat keep complaining about what Candace chooses to talk about or claim that she's grifting, but continue to watch and bump up Candace's views. Yeah, those are our resident Zionist friends. They're here every episode. Say hello to them. Intuition Jen writes, thank you for calling out TPUSA and holding them accountable. It really stinks. It does. And it won't survive. It won't survive this. If they are not forthcoming about what happened, if they are not forthcoming about why they had all of these dramatic changes, who were the ops that were back home, who was he on the phone with, there's no way he was holding, now that I saw the footage all the way of him beyond, still on the phone. He does not dial a number, and he's on it for way too long. They're lying to us. And I don't know why they're lying to us, but you only lie when you have something to hide. So what is it that they're hiding from us? Caitlin, and who are they protecting? Who are they protecting, actually? Caitlin Carey writes, thank you for all that you do. What do you think about Jordan Peterson getting sick while in Israel? It's hard for me to believe that someone that was smart wasn't waking up to, I feel spiritually not right that he's been MIA since right before they shot Charlie. I did not know that he got sick while he was in Israel. I don't think, if the implication here is that he was shifting viewpoints, Jordan Peterson has been a stalwart on the topic of Israel. I've never even seen any daylight crack on that topic. And for me personally, I found that it was unbearable because he was so hypocritical on this particular topic. And I don't know, I am not a Jordan Peterson fan because I don't think he lived his life in the way that he inspired so many to live theirs. Obviously, that aside, compartmentalizing my ideological disagreements with Jordan Peterson, I hope he gets well. And yeah, I'd have to look into how he got sick. We get very weird answers that don't provide a lot of clarity. So I don't know. I really don't know what's going on with Jordan Peterson. I have no insight there. Noah writes that AIPAC is going to try and stage a hostile takeover of Turning Point USA. I think that's already happened, actually, and I think it had been happening for a while. And I am looking to get some evidence of that for you guys, but I'm hearing some things. More is going to come out because we're not going to let this go. Raven writes, Brandon Briggs said on his last day's show to pray for Candace Owens, Alex Jones, and Tucker Carlson, bold voices that are exposing darkness. May Jesus Christ of Nazareth protect them all. Thank you so much, and do pray. Pray. Fast, these things work. And we are in a time of tremendous revelation. That is very clear. And which makes it that we are in dangerous times. Times of tremendous revelation are times when evil becomes more desperate. And I believe that Charlie's murder was because evil became very desperate. And what's really funny, when I say funny, I'm talking dark humor funny, is as I was recounting this with my team earlier, I said the problem with what they did is they planned it perfectly. Right. And you should never have perfect behavior if a situation is organic. That's the problem, right? They planned it perfectly. So this phone call and walking away is actually not what a natural person would do. Knowing what direction to walk into, you'd be all over the place. You'd be freaking out, screaming, running towards the person. It looks like a military operation. Everything that we see looks like a military operation on that day. And that's the problem. Right? That's why computers, they never account for the part where there is human behavior. Human behavior is lacking in this circumstance, and that's what makes us all uncomfortable. They want us to forget this. They want us to be ADHD about this. They want us to move on and start talking about the Mamdani race. And we have to be committed to not letting this go, because we are getting close every day. We are going to increase the pressure on them. If this happened to me, Charlie would be doing the exact same thing. I know he would be. This is a kind of evil that should scare everyone. Because the implications are that if this was in fact a military assassination, then there is, forget talking about a deep state. We are talking about a kind of evil which would be so far reaching that even Charlie's own allies at his company and at the White House, some of them would have had to have been aware. That's obviously not all of them, but some of them would have had to have been aware for this to be executed. And we sense that. We sense that in the lack of information that is coming out, the lies that are being told, the covering up of the 12 Israeli cell phones. Because if it really was nothing, then it would be nothing. They would share that information. Instead, Kash Patel is frantic and he's angry and he's shouting at people, is what I'm hearing. So let's keep on it. Expose the Truth writes, the clip of that mayor debate looks like an SNL skit. Indeed, it does. As a conservative, leaning libertarian, I don't agree with socialism, but part of me is glad that Mamdani won because it sends a message. It was supposed to be MAGA, not MEGA. Exactly right. And when you see that skit, it reminds us of early Trump. Trump was on stage and they were just hammering everything that he said, and he was really funny and he stood by what he believed in. And we thought that he was going to disrupt the establishment, and now it looks like he's been swallowed whole by the same swamp that he went down there to clean up. Okay. Whatever the swamp monster is, it's got some claws, is what I would say. It's got some claws. And so I feel let down, obviously, by Trump, but it pales in comparison to how I feel about the entire Trump family, given everything that Charlie did to get them to where they are. Like their silence is just something else for me. Like I said, I'm not voting until this gets solved. Don't care if Dana Lash and every neocon wants to cry about it. My platform will be used to tell people that they should have no faith in the system. Zero faith in the system until this gets resolved. Anyways, you guys, if you'd like to support my work, as always, I point you to makehimasandwich.com. Buy the book. You will really enjoy this one, especially because we're getting in front of holiday season. I'm also going to sign some signed copies right as I get off of the air today. So that will be available. Makehimasandwich.com. And you can subscribe to our website, CandaceOwens.com. It's another way that you can support us and the work that we do, because we are a very small team, an unbelievably small team that makes this show happen every single day. Buy a t-shirt. Buy one of these amazing just dropped We Don't Know But We Know Candace cups. And as always, even if you can't do that right now, I'm just appreciative that you guys show up every day and you watch this show. We are just tremendously grateful to you guys. So we'll see you tomorrow.